We all have emotions and think about things. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome to Emotional and Mental Justice. I'm Yuna and I'm super excited to be sharing this podcast today with my very good friend who's here with me today, and her name is...
Hi, I'm Charlotte.
Yes, and we are talking about seeking unobtainable men. Just to begin with, I would like to just make clear that what we're focusing on today is the women. So women's patterns of behaviour and the reasons why women seek unobtainable men. The reason we're focusing on the women is because it would be a very long discussion if we talked about every single area. Of course, we know men are involved in, whatever's going on with us seeking these men. So first I'd like to talk about self-sabotaging. What do you think, Charlotte?
So self-sabotaging is usually when a person, consciously decides to destroy what they have in a situation. So I guess when we think about women seeking unobtainable men and self-sabotaging, it could be from a few different perspectives. So are they seeking the unattainable men because they can't have a stable, committed relationship with someone who is attainable? So by going for someone unobtainable, they're self-sabotaging that commitment. Or also, are they trying to self-sabotage, so in terms of self-esteem and sense of worth? Are they going for the unattainable man because they feel they're not worthy or of value to a man who was obtainable?
Yes, so essentially with self-sabotaging, they're stopping themselves from actually achieving the goals that they actually may truly want.
Yeah.
Or do they actually want those things? So I guess this is quite a large area of...
Yeah, I think it can be looked at from lots of different angles. And I think maybe sometimes do women in today's society maybe they don't know what they want, because women are told, they are equal to men now. There isn't a glass ceiling. Women can do everything men can. But then where does that actually leave a relationship? What happens?
Or maybe women do know what they want and they truly know what they want to the point where when they see what they want, they go for it. And whether it's unobtainable or obtainable, if they know, they know their worth, they know themselves, they know that this is what I want, this is what makes me happy, and I need to get that. So I guess it could work both ways.
Yes, and I guess in terms of maybe a woman feeling like she loves an unobtainable man, maybe it's the view that if they persevere, the unobtainable man will become the available man, and that's something they don't want to give up on.
Yeah, and I mean, I know of situations where that unobtainable man has become this available man.
Yes.
But I also know of many situations where women stay seeking this man out for a very long time. What's your take on that?
I don't know. I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because again, is it convenient for the woman that the man's unobtainable because the woman doesn't also want to commit because they like having their own life and independence? Or again, are they just biding time hoping that the man will leave his situation and become obtainable?
Yeah. And just like as you said, are women actually comfortable with the fact that like their own time and their own space? And what I was looking at was women that feel it's a safer environment because they never have to commit, and when commitment doesn't come around, that becomes a contradiction, because some of these women who think they didn't want commitment then end up disappointed, end up feeling worthless and undesired. So again, do they really want their privacy? There's so many reasons as to why people go into these situations.
Yes, and I guess like you said, rejection's also a big thing. People who don't like the feeling of being rejected or turned down. So when there's a lack of commitment, I guess it's rejection, but in a very gentle way.
Because they can turn around and say, I never actually wanted it anyway.
And thinking about the word unobtainable, also makes me think of not necessarily men who may be in other relationships, maybe they're also mentally or emotionally unobtainable. So they could be, you know, someone who doesn't have a partner, but they're not able to provide the emotional connection that a woman wants.
So I mean, that's a good point, because when you say unobtainable man, I guess the first thing somebody might think about is the fact that they are in a relationship and they can't leave their partner, and that's why they're unobtainable. But there are so many reasons why somebody may become unobtainable, just as you've mentioned. And if somebody is emotionally unavailable, it's difficult for them to commit for many reasons. I mean, back to the whole reason I do this podcast, to do with mental health and emotional health. All these things are barriers to relationships. And again, it's not just somebody who's in a relationship with someone.
And I guess often if a woman's seeking a man, again, who's unobtainable in any capacity, I think it's also whether the woman is a, you know, confident, strong-minded woman, or a woman who's going through life difficulties, you know, to look at, I guess, the woman's attachment and the woman's childhood. And
is she a protector? Does she feel the need to protect others, or does she feel the need to seek something from somebody because they can't give it to her? Speaking of attachment, you just mentioned, obviously, Charlotte and I are both counsellors, and this is why we're able to discuss attachment, I guess. So with attachment theory, if you want to lead,
yes, I can.
Tell us a few things about attachment theory.
So yes, when we talk about attachment, we look at it in the sense of, you know, childhood, especially formative years, so when a person is a baby, and the attachment they have to their main caregiver. Stereotypically it's the mum. Obviously in modern society that's changing, but it looks at the care and attention and the love they receive in the early years. And again, you can go on from a baby and you can look at childhood,
early years, and everything else. So let's talk about, for example, because we're talking about men and women, let's go straight to a father figure. What a child may have lacked or needed from a father, a father that wasn't really present. Could that be reasons, would you say?
I guess so. If we also look at, I guess, from psychodynamic perspective, if we're looking at from the woman's perspective, if we look at the Oedipal complex, and the woman's relationship with her own father, again, you could say, does the woman seek an unobtainable man because the relationship she had with her father, as you said, wasn't a secure, attached relationship.
And then that's all she knows. And perhaps she's seeking that because, not necessarily because it's what works for her, but this is what she's grown up doing.
Yes. And equally, I guess you could look at it, if her father was overly present and there was high expectations, does the woman feel like a man is never going to be good enough? So again, if you look back to self-sabotage, they're going for the unobtainable man because it's too of a high bar to ever find that
to find that perfect person. So it's like the search, isn't it? Constantly seeking, never being good enough. Okay, so we've talked about childhood and attachment and parenting and caregiving. What about on the topic of speaking about the past? Speaking of past relationships. So I have this thought of people holding on to bruises that a loved one once left behind because that's all they have left of that person. Yet this is the very thing that's blocking them from moving forward. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. We as humans do hold on to fragments of the past, and it does impact on our choices for the present and for the future. So if we've been hurt by someone, it makes us very guarded against possible future situations. And I think holding on to the hurt and the bruises, again, it can kind of set a blueprint for seeking other men or other people in the future. And again, maybe it makes people not comparable to other people.
Absolutely. And when someone is not comparable, it goes back to you again going back to seeking this unobtainable person, if you find someone that you think might be comparable to your past that you felt was good or good enough, you then latch on to that, maybe for the wrong reasons. But that's another reason I guess people would go out and seek someone that's unobtainable. But then also, if something has hurt you in the past, why do you want the same thing in your future?
And I think if we're thinking about personal situations, I wonder if that happens because of low self-worth at that time, and holding on to those bruises, and you know, wanting to be with that person who has caused you hurt. So you purposely seek people who are unobtainable because it's a reflection on how you feel about yourself. And I guess unconsciously as well, as the woman, you're actually unobtainable because you're holding on to so much hurt and things you haven't actually processed.
I like that, what you just said about us actually being unobtainable. So we're focusing on this unobtainable man, but all of our choices actually are making us unobtainable ourselves. Because should this man fall for us and want to be with us, are we ready? Are we in that place whereby we are ready to change our ways and commit to this person? So that's
and I think, you know, as we've often discussed before, you know, we'll say, you know, we'll be frustrated about personal situations, and we'll have that conversation about men not being committed or not replying to messages or keeping their words.
We've had many of these conversations.
But then equally, you know, we can be very quick to shut off or to dismiss someone, you know, and not want to listen to someone else as part of the story or reasons for their behaviour, which does make us unobtainable in some respects.
That's very true. Just thinking of, let's say if we were to focus on some of the positives about unobtainable men, but also the women that do these things, because a lot of the stuff we've talked about, I'm not saying is negative stuff, but we've talked about some of the things that the self-sabotaging, the low self-worth and everything else. But so some of my thoughts were that the positives and strengths about such women is that they embody skills of perseverance, commitment, dedication and patience. And when they set their mind on something, they will go for it. And, you know, that will be their focus. What do you think of that?
Funny enough, for me, I think it's difficult to see it in a positive way. But and then thinking of it in a positive way, I get the image of kind of like a very successful woman who maybe has everything, has a very jet set lifestyle. So, you know, having these kind of unobtainable men, it's like a convenience. And so I find it difficult to look at it in a positive
way. Okay, so you look at it as this, you know, high flying woman that has everything. What about the non high flying woman that doesn't have everything, yet she embodies the same behaviours as that woman? So then
does that woman feel in love with the unobtainable person? Is that why she's pursuing them? Was there a connection there?
I guess I can only speak from experience, right? Because if I have to talk about myself, I know that for whatever reason, it's difficult for me to just fall for somebody. Difficult for me to for my heart to beat for somebody. Yes, I find men attractive. I see this person here. I'm like, oh, he's cute, he's hot, whatever. But for me to actually get that feeling whereby I want to be with this person or pursue this person, you know, it takes something. So, in answer to your question, I would agree with the fact that, only speaking for myself, if you're seeking out this person, whether you're a high flyer, you're not a high flyer, surely it's got to be because it's something you really want.
Yes.
And I guess I can only speak from experience. If I go for something, it's because I really want that and I can see myself with this person. Otherwise, it would be a waste of my time.
And then in that situation, is there then hope that person then becomes obtainable?
There's definitely the hope that this person becomes obtainable, because back to what I just said, it would be a waste of my time and my efforts and everything else if they didn't. But there's always obviously the reality that they are unobtainable. They may never become obtainable. So is that time, I'm talking of it being a waste of my time, yet I continue to pursue and possibly waste my time on something that has no guarantees. There's no straightforward answer.
No, it's very conflicting thing, isn't it? Because equally, I guess we are talking about the woman side of things, but if you looking at it from another perspective, if you were the woman who was attached to the unobtainable man, and then another woman comes along to pursue the attached man, as the woman, it's kind of double standards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely double standards, because is that today's society though? Is that just what happens in the world today? Because especially within our age group, what happens with, let's say you're in our age group where a lot of people are attached already, are in relationships, have children, it is double standards, because there's a possibility that if you're the person in the relationship, there may be somebody else, lurking around, trying to obtain your unobtainable man. So yeah, it's definitely double standards. Do we do it? Let's be realistic.
Yes.
Is this not something that perhaps, whether you've done or you haven't, you've seen people firsthand do it, and it happens?
Yeah, and it's difficult. And just thinking about kind of from the counselling side of things, I guess the kind of situations that we come across in counselling practice, and from the women's side of things, lots of the women who seek unobtainable men always have the hope that man is going to become available to them, either physically, mentally, whatever capacity they're seeking. Which I think is also why, when you said about the positives of it, it's quite difficult to me to think about. Because I always, I guess, see it from the other side, the woman always having that hope, even when they say, I'm just happy seeing a person once a week or whatever it is. But
then that comes down to your standards as well. So what is good enough for you? So if you're saying, I'm happy just to see him once a week and be with other women and all this stuff, would I be happy with that? No. Never. The thing I would be happy with would be that if this person who's unobtainable or unavailable, whether it's again emotionally, mentally, whatever, I would want that person to fully become available to me, and not necessarily just once a week, or at a point when they decide to be in a bit and out a bit. That wouldn't be good enough. So again, it's something about their standards. What is good enough for them?
I think it is standards, and is it also again back to the attachment, the self-worth, because if we look at kind of insecure attachment, it's kind of, well, sometimes any attention from you is okay. So if you're going to see me once a week, please do. I'd rather that than nothing. Whereas someone who feels quite strong and confident may say, well, no, actually, I don't agree with that. It's either all or nothing.
All or nothing, And then just to throw a spanner in the works on that one, where you said, if you see me once a week, it's better than nothing. But what if that person who's saying, if you see me once a week, it's better than nothing, because maybe they have this hidden agenda or this plan to say, maybe if you see me once a week, it'll be better than nothing. Then it might turn to 2 days a week, and then it will turn to this, and it's baby steps for them.
And then it's baby steps, but is it also secret hope that in denial that person is going to one day become available? So again, that one day, if I show them a nice time and how wonderful I am, will they then want to see me for a second day during the week, or will that mean that they'll want to see me next week? Are they going to get bored of me?
I mean, I would say, rightly or wrongly, I think that it's just better for somebody to be all in than to be I don't mind just once a week, and I don't mind 2 days a week, because it's either you're in or you're out, because that's the kind of person I am. I know that if I'm in, and I'll give it a good shot, or else I'm out.
But then from that, I would take it you're ready to seek an obtainable man.
I'm definitely ready to seek an obtainable man, not an unobtainable man, because it's just drama, isn't it? It's just drama, and it's hard work and all that stuff. But then, can an unobtainable man become obtainable?
I don't think that's an answerable question. I think it's more to do with the woman feeling the self-worth and the value in themselves, that they want that commitment, and that's what they deserve and need from someone, because if that's not what you want, how is that ever going to be mirrored?
Exactly. And the mirroring is so important, because if you're not mirrored in a relationship, we're not saying everything has to be exact.
No.
In when it comes to feelings and what percentage you're at with your feelings, but it's important to have that mirroring in a relationship. Otherwise, one person is at a completely different stage or different level to the other.
Yes, and it also makes me think about respect. I remember, as a teenager, seeing in a classroom on a postcard a quote, respect is not given, it's earned. And saying the last few years, I've really thought about kind of that quote. We parrot it often to children or to young people, but when you really think about it again, is how, as a woman, if you're seeking unattainable men, if to receive the respect that you deserve, how are you going to get that if you're always seeking the unobtainable?
You're probably not going to get that respect. And again, whilst we're not focusing on the men, that would be a whole nother discussion. But there's something about the men that are okay with knowing that they can't be obtained, yet allowing the woman. I know, like, you're a grown woman, you can do what you want to do, but the man allowing you to display these behaviours around him, and the man encouraging these behaviours, yet knowing that there's no way he's anywhere near possibly even committing to you, or taking the next step with you.
And then is it then the woman's choice then to say, if that's how you're going to be, it's not what I want, it's not good enough for me.
Absolutely.
Because it can't, no one can have everything.
No one can have everything. And I guess it comes back down to the strength, the confidence, the self-worth to be able to say no. This is fun, or you enjoy this, or we enjoy this, yet I have no fulfillment from it. And that's, fulfillment is, I guess, part of why the women seek the unattainable man, or the lack of fulfillment. But deep down, surely every woman wants that commitment. Whether you have a low self-esteem, a low sense of self-worth, why are you seeking in the first place? Surely everybody, the ultimate goal is to have that love, to have that dream. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
I think that was the dream, wasn't it? Or it's been the spoon-fed, indoctrinated dream across many cultures. Is you grow up, you get married, you have children,
you have your big wedding,
exactly,
you settle down.
And I think so is that in society changing? Is that why today there's more people seeking unobtainable people?
And today's society is just a different world as well, isn't it? It's just a completely different world where anything goes, and there's no people are settling down later because they don't actually want to settle down.
I think now there's a big thing, isn't there, about, if you look at like Instagram and all these things, people are afraid of settling down or commitment because what if someone more attractive comes along?
There's always that what if. And
but then that's not love then, is it?
No, it's not love. It's superficial to an extent, because the more attractive person that comes along is mainly based on looks a lot of the time. But that's not to say that more attractive person that comes along can't embody all the things that the woman that you, or the man you might have been with can also embodies. So, but why are we always seeking more? Why is what you have not good enough? But then again, if you're not happy with what you have, why are you continuing with what you have? I'm sure there are a million reasons people continue. It's I think long gone are the days when people, like the older generation, would find their partner, settle down, get married, be together for the rest of their life.
Well, I think there's if you look at lots of cultures, especially for arranged marriages and things, people learn to love each other. Whereas in other cultures, you get people get married and they get divorced multiple times. So it's not love, it's lust.
It's lust,
and there's no kind of commitment to anything.
Do you think you can learn to love someone?
I think in situations, people, I guess, they learn to love aspects of people.
Surely there's got to be some kind of physical attraction initially, or whatever the attraction is, there's got to be that attraction for you to be able to build on.
Yes.
Or can you go from like nothing to then...
But some people might feel emotionally or mentally attracted to somebody. I guess it depends what your, I guess, main, weirdly, it sounds weird, but attraction senses.
Yeah. No, it doesn't sound weird to me, because I am attracted to people not necessarily for their looks. A good-looking guy, yes, is nice. It's an extra bonus, of course. But emotional... attachment, intelligence, psychological, the depth you can go to in conversations, and I guess humour to an extent. So all those things for me are more important than the physical attraction. And when you have that, it can be magical, as opposed to looks, which will eventually fade anyway, and can change, and at any point anything can happen. What's your attraction? A style, if you can call it that?
I don't know. Just I think you have to feel... I think there's something about the physical, being physically attracted to somebody, but I think a deeper love comes from, I guess, an emotional connection to somebody, and feeling, I guess, mentally and emotionally safe and secure with somebody, and that they, I guess, understand and support you.
Security is an important thing, and I'm not talking about financial security at all. I'm talking about the security that you know how this person might feel about you, and what they think of you. I think that's an important part, because that reassures you, and I don't think it's anything to do with having insecurities, but it's just that security that they give you, and the reassurance is something that attracts you to knowing that I am able to give myself to someone who's willing to receive me. And I guess that is the whole emotional intelligence part of things, is to be able to give and receive someone's emotional needs. Is you need to be emotionally ready to give and receive those emotions. And that's another thing I'm attracted to, is vulnerability. If somebody's able to be vulnerable in terms of they're able to talk about their emotions, because that's an important thing. The thing that a lot of relationships suffer from is lack of communication. And I think if you're able to communicate and be vulnerable and talk about your feelings, how you feel, what's going on with you, that's a very attractive thing for me, because then each party knows where they stand.
I think knowing where you stand's a big thing, isn't it? Because when people don't know where they stand, so again, if we look at the whole women seeking the unobtainable man, there's also lots of, I think, anxiety and unease alongside that.
Absolutely.
Because the woman never actually... Is she in control? Is she the one calling the shots? Or is she... who's actually leading that dance? Is it actually the man? And I think... so to feel that emotional connection and reassurance is a big thing.
And I guess the woman that we talked about earlier with the low self-esteem and the lack of self-worth can never truly be able to know or be able to express where she is or where she stands until she knows where she stands in the eyes of the other. If that makes sense.
No, I agree.
So with everything we've discussed, what have you taken away from this? What have you learned anything? Or
it makes me kind of think about myself, I guess, and personal situations or past experiences, in times when I guess I try to seek the proverbial unobtainable man, and I guess where that might stem from. So I'm sure on my drive home I shall be analysing and reflecting.
I think I may be reflecting on some of this in therapy. It's been a while since I've been in therapy. As counsellors, we know that therapy is important. We're advocates of therapy, and we know that it's difficult for us to work on our own, on other people, if we can't work on our own stuff. And I guess this has just made me think and just remember times of maybe where I might have been seeking an unobtainable man, or maybe for whatever reason, situations in my past, and the reasons why I have the thoughts and feelings I have today, and the reasons why as well it's hard and difficult for my heart to beat for somebody, as I mentioned earlier. So I guess these are things that I could uncover at some point in therapy, which I am yet to do. So whilst you reflect in the car,
you'll be finding a therapist.
I'll be finding a therapist. Unfortunately, we can't be each other's therapists because conflict of interest and stuff. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today, Charlotte. I always gain get a lot from you. It's just the relationship we have, I guess. The fact that also we can talk from a counsellor's perspective. It's enriching.
It is.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a safe drive home.
Thank you.
And let me know when you get home what you've reflected on.
I shall. Bye.
We all have emotions and think about things. Let's talk about